Hello, welcome to Quiz Time. I'm Jess with 100 General Knowledge Questions. During which American president's administration did the infamous Watergate scandal unravel, leading to his resignation? Gerald Ford, Richard Nixon, or John F. Kennedy? Richard Nixon. Which island is home to the mysterious Maori statues carved by the Rapa Nui people, and why were they placed facing inland? Crete for religious rituals, Iceland to ward off invaders, or Easter Island to protect the people? Easter Island to protect the people. What unexpected effects did the 18th Amendment have on alcohol consumption in the US? It boosted the economy, alcohol was made legal again, or it led to an increase in organised crime? It led to an increase in organised crime. Despite having passed Earth many times without incident before, which astronomical event in 1910 resulted in widespread panic? Halley's Comet, solar eclipse, or the passing of an asteroid? It was Halley's Comet. Why did Queen Victoria, known for her independence, need her mother to live with her until adulthood? Due to strict royal protocols to safeguard the royal bloodline, or because of a law passed during her father's reign? It was due to strict royal protocols. What unexpected discovery did researchers find when they unearthed the famous terracotta army in China? It was buried in a pyramid, it was guarding an ancient tomb, or it was meant to protect an emperor in the afterlife? It was meant to protect an emperor in the afterlife. In ancient Rome, what was the original purpose of the Colosseum, and why did gladiators often not die during combat? For religious ceremonies to honour the gods, as a meeting place to discuss politics, or for entertainment to keep the crowd happy? For entertainment to keep the crowd happy. How did the Berlin Wall's construction in 1961 divide families, and what unlikely method did some East Berliners use to escape? Tunnels dug under the wall, by sailing across the river, or by hiding in trade shipments? Tunnels dug under the wall. Why did the British government officially send convicts to Australia in the late 1700s, and how did this practice impact its future? To explore new lands, to relieve overcrowded prisons, or to establish a colony? To relieve overcrowded prisons. What surprising details about prehistoric life were revealed by the discovery of the frozen body of Otzi in the Alps? His belongings were well preserved, he was a wealthy leader, or he had tattoos for medical purposes? His belongings were well preserved. Why did knights wear colourful coats of arms, and how were they passed down through the generations? As a symbol of royalty, for religious purposes, or to distinguish themselves in battle? To distinguish themselves in battle. Which event led to the construction of the Eiffel Tower, initially intended to be a temporary structure? The 1889 World's Fair, the French Revolution, or the Franco-Prussian War? It was the 1889 World's Fair. What ancient civilization built Machu Picchu, and what was its purpose before it was abandoned? The Aztecs as a trade center, the Incas as a royal estate, or the Mayans as a religious site? The Incas as a royal estate. Why did the once powerful Ottoman Empire suddenly collapse in the early 20th century after centuries of dominance? A devastating famine, a rebellion by the provinces, or its involvement in World War I? Its involvement in World War I. How did the 1956 Suez Crisis challenge British and French control of waterways, and which surprising country mediated? The United States, India or China? The United States. How did Alexander the Great's vast empire crumble so quickly after his death, despite his extensive conquests? His generals fought over control. It was overrun by invaders. His lands were divided amongst his heirs. His generals fought over control. Which Roman emperor is credited with making Christianity the empire's official religion, forever altering its course? Augustus, Constantine, or Julius Caesar? Constantine. Which country, often overlooked, was the first to grant women the right to vote in 1893, leading the way for other nations to follow? New Zealand, Finland, or Canada? It was New Zealand. Why was the 1942 Battle of Midway pivotal in the Pacific theatre of World War II, despite the odds against the US Navy? The US had superior aircraft, the US cracked Japanese codes, or a typhoon weakened Japan's forces? The US cracked Japanese codes. What ancient Roman innovation enabled cities to expand by offering a dependable water source that is still utilised today in some form? Aqueducts, Roman baths, or dams? Aqueducts. What groundbreaking theory did Charles Darwin introduce in his 1859 book on the origin of species, which was controversial then? The Big Bang Theory, cell theory, or natural selection? Natural selection. Which European nation was the first to adopt Christianity as its state religion in 301 AD, centuries before it became widespread elsewhere? Armenia, Greece, or Italy? Italy. Why was the eruption of Krakatoa in 1883 so devastating, not just for the local area, but for the entire planet's climate? It triggered a volcanic winter, it caused a massive tsunami, or it destroyed an entire island. It triggered a volcanic winter. How did the Wright brothers test aircraft designs before their successful 1903 flight? They tested them underwater, they built a wind tunnel, or they launched their planes off cliffs. They built a wind tunnel. What ancient civilization created cuneiform, an early writing system, and what material was used for writing? Sumerians, clay tablets; Egyptians, papyrus; or Greeks, stone? It was the Sumerians, clay tablets. What surprising animal did ancient Egyptians believe represented the goddess Bastet, often leading them to keep it as a revered pet? Crocodiles, falcons, or cats? It was cats. Why did the Battle of Waterloo in 1815 end Napoleon's rule over France, despite his earlier return to power? He fell ill during battle, his troops rebelled, or a group of European armies overcame him? A group of European armies overcame him. What event in 1066 altered English history and was significant for the monarchy? The War of the Roses, the signing of the Magna Carta, or the Norman conquest at the Battle of Hastings? The Norman conquest at the Battle of Hastings. Why did the sinking of the Lusitania in 1915 provoke outrage despite warnings from the German Navy about the dangers of sailing through war zones? It was an American ship, it was a military vessel, or it was carrying civilians? It was carrying civilians. What proclamation did Abraham Lincoln issue in 1863 that changed the course of the Civil War? Declaration of Independence, Gettysburg Address, or Emancipation Proclamation? Emancipation Proclamation. What landmark legislation enacted in 1965 aimed to secure voting rights for African Americans, particularly in the South? Voting Rights Act, Civil Rights Act, or Fair Housing Act? Voting Rights Act. What gathering in 1848 is considered the start of the women's suffrage movement in the US? Seneca Falls Convention, First Women's Day, or National Women's Suffrage Association meeting? Seneca Falls Convention. What was the main purpose behind building the Berlin Wall in 1961? To protect West Berlin from invasions, to promote tourism to East Berlin, to stop East Germans from escaping to the West. To stop East Germans from escaping to the West. What nuclear exchange threatened to break out between the United States and the Soviet Union in 1962? Cuban Missile Crisis, Korean War, or Bay of Pigs invasion? The Cuban Missile Crisis. What unexpected outcome did the California gold rush of 1849 have on the region's population, leading to a more diverse society? Growth of agricultural communities, decline in local businesses, or increased migration from different countries? Increased migration from different countries. Which historic event in 1776 marked the 13 American colonies' Declaration of Independence from British rule? Boston Tea Party, Articles of Confederation, or Declaration of Independence? Declaration of Independence. In what year did the Berlin Wall fall, symbolising the end of the Cold War and the reunification of Germany? 1989, 1991, or 1985? 1989. What cultural revolution in the 1960s and 70s challenged traditional values and norms, especially among young people in the US and UK? The Enlightenment, the Industrial Revolution, or the Counterculture movement? The Counterculture movement. Which ancient wonder built in ancient Greece was dedicated to the goddess Athena and is renowned for its architectural brilliance? The Parthenon, the Colossus of Rhodes, or the Lighthouse of Alexandria? The Parthenon. What was the underlying cause of the American Civil War that began in 1861, leading to significant social and political changes? The debate over slavery, disputes over state rights, or economic differences between North and South? The debate over slavery. Which major environmental disaster in the 1980s led to significant changes in US environmental policy and public awareness? Chernobyl disaster, Love Canal incident, or Phonal gas tragedy? Love Canal incident. Which popular movement in the 19th century aimed to abolish slavery and had a profound impact on American society? The temperance movement, the suffrage movement, or the abolitionist movement? The abolitionist movement. What major economic event occurred in 1929, leading to widespread financial hardship and a re-evaluation of economic practices? The Great Depression, the stock market crash, or the Dust Bowl? The stock market crash. What cultural phenomenon of the 1920s characterised by jazz music and flappers is often referred to as the Jazz Age? The Roaring Twenties, the Gilded Age, or the Great Awakening? The Roaring Twenties. Which pivotal event in 1865 officially ended the Civil War and led to the abolition of slavery in the US? The 13th Amendment, the Gettysburg Address, or the Emancipation Proclamation? The 13th Amendment. What catastrophic event in 1918 caused millions of deaths worldwide and is often referred to as a pandemic? The Great Plague, the Spanish flu, or the Asian flu? The Spanish flu. What was the primary focus of the civil rights movement of the United States during the 1950s and 60s? Women's suffrage, racial equality and justice, or labour rights? Racial equality and justice. What artistic movement, flourishing in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, emphasised spontaneity and the depiction of everyday life? Impressionism, Surrealism, or Cubism? Impressionism. Which famous British monarch ruled during the height of the British Empire and is associated with an era of industrial expansion? Queen Elizabeth I, King Henry VIII, or Queen Victoria? Queen Victoria. What legendary American folk hero is known for his adventurous life and exploration of the frontier during the 19th century? Davy Crockett, Paul Bunyan, or Johnny Appleseed? Davy Crockett. Halfway there, how are you doing? In which battle during the Napoleonic Wars did the British Navy, led by Admiral Nelson, achieve decisive victory? Battle of Trafalgar, Battle of Waterloo, or Adam Smith? Battle of Trafalgar. Published in 1605, Miguel de Cervantes wrote which famous novel and is often considered among the greatest? War and Peace, Don Quixote, or the Divine Comedy? Don Quixote. What was the name of the ship that brought pilgrims to North America in 1620, marking an important event in US history? Mayflower, Santa Maria, or HMS Victory? Mayflower. Which notable speech by President Abraham Lincoln began with the famous line, 77 years ago? The Gettysburg Address, the Emancipation Proclamation, or the Declaration of Independence? The Gettysburg Address. What event in 1986 involving a nuclear reactor explosion became the worst nuclear disaster in history? Fukushima, Chernobyl, or 3 Mile Island? Chernobyl. Which war between the British and the Boers in South Africa marked the beginning of the end of British colonial rule in the region? Zulu War, Boer War, or Anglo-Sikh War? Boer War. What powerful empire centred in modern-day Iran once stretched from Egypt to India and was known for its complex administration? The Roman Empire, the Ottoman Empire, or the Persian Empire? The Persian Empire. Which US president signed the act that established the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, in 1958? Harry Truman, Dwight D. Eisenhower, or John F. Kennedy? Dwight D. Eisenhower. In which European city was the Treaty of Westphalia signed in 1648, bringing an end to the 30 Years' War? Vienna, Munster, or Prague? It was Munster. In 1897, what event in Klondike, Canada prompted thousands of people to undertake dangerous journeys in search of fortune? Yukon Stampede, Klondike Gold Rush, or Canadian oil boom? Klondike Gold Rush. Regarding the starving peasants, which French queen was reported mistakenly to have exclaimed, "Let them eat cake"? Catherine de' Medici, Marie Antoinette, or Eleanor of Aquitaine? Marie Antoinette. In 1885, the first successful vaccine for rabies was developed by which French scientist? Louis Pasteur, Antoine Lavoisier, or Henri Becquerel? Louis Pasteur. Which unusual sea phenomenon, sometimes known as St. Elmo's fire of the sea, involves glowing blue waves seen at night? Bioluminescence, phosphorescence, or tidal luminescence? Bioluminescence. Which famous explorer's last known words were, "I have only ever loved adventure"? Sir Francis Drake, David Livingstone, or Sir Ernest Shackleton? Sir Ernest Shackleton. Which peculiar event in 1815 caused global temperatures to drop, leading to what is called the year without a summer? Krakatoa eruption, Mount Tambora eruption, or Mount Vesuvius eruption? Mount Tambora eruption. Which disease, known as the Black Death, wiped out an estimated 1/3 of Europe's population in the 14th century? Bubonic plague, smallpox, or Spanish flu? Bubonic plague. Which bird species migrates from the Arctic to Antarctica and back annually, covering over 25,000 miles? Arctic tern, albatross, or wandering falcon? The Arctic tern. Which warship, famously raised from the seabed in 1982 after sinking during its maiden voyage in 1628, is now housed in a museum in Stockholm? HMS Victory, Vasa, or USS Monitor? Vasa. What notorious conflict lasting from 1455 to 1487 saw the House of Lancaster and the House of York battle for the English throne? 100 Years' War, War of the Roses, or English Civil War? War of the Roses. Which astronomical discovery by Galileo Galilei in 1610 challenged the belief that everything revolved around the Earth? Moons of Jupiter, Saturn's rings, or solar flares? Moons of Jupiter. Which country, famous for its tulip fields and windmills, experienced an economic bubble in the 17th century known as Tulip Mania? France, Netherlands, or Belgium? The Netherlands. In 1967, what major space exploration milestone did Soviet cosmonaut Vladimir Komarov tragically not survive? First moon landing, first spacewalk, or first spaceflight fatality? First spaceflight fatality. During Prohibition in the United States, what infamous gang leader became a symbol of organised crime in Chicago? Al Capone, John Dillinger, or Lucky Luciani? Al Capone. In 1933, which event led to a mass migration of families from the Dust Bowl region of California seeking better living better living conditions? The Dust Bowl exodus, the Gold Rush, or the Great Migration? The Dust Bowl exodus. Which animal species, once thought extinct, was rediscovered in the deep jungles of Vietnam in 1992, shocking biologists? Javan rhino, Saolo, or Samaritan tiger? Saolo. What rare geological phenomenon in the African continent creates a natural gas flare that has been burning for decades? Door to Hell, Eternal Flame Falls, or Lake of Fire? Door to Hell. Which shipwreck in 1717 resulted in the discovery of one of the most significant pirate treasures ever recovered? The Wardell Galley, the Queen Anne's Revenge, or the Golden Hind? The Wardell Galley. During the reign of which English king was it mandated that longbows be used by all male citizens on Sundays? King Henry V, King Edward III, or King Richard I? King Edward III. What ancient mathematical manuscript discovered in 1881 is thought to be the earliest surviving collection of mathematics? Rhind Papyrus, Pythagoras Codex, or Fibonacci Scroll? Rhind Papyrus. Which American architect designed a hotel that later became infamous for its eerie paranormal activity, known as the Stanley Hotel? Frank Lloyd Wright, Thomas Edison, or Freeland Oscar Stanley? Freeland Oscar Stanley. In 1962, which obscure species of tree was cloned and sent to space to test the effects of zero gravity on plant growth? Moon sycamore, red spruce, or coast redwood? Moon sycamore. I wonder how it did. The 1971 discovery of what ancient city in Turkey is considered one of the most significant archaeological finds of the 20th century? Göbekli Tepe, Troy, or Çatalhöyük? Göbekli Tepe. In 1938, scientists off the coast of South Africa discovered a fish previously thought extinct for 65 million years. What was its name? Coelacanth, Megalodon, or Dunkelosaurus? Coelacanth. What is the name of the ancient Roman road system, the longest road stretching from Rome to Brindisi that still exists today? Via Appia, Via Aurelia, or Via Egnatia? Via Appia. Which famous adventurer's expedition in the 16th century led to the first recorded crossing of the Mississippi River by Europeans? Hernando de Soto, Francisco Pizarro, or Vasco Núñez de Balboa? Hernando de Soto. The skeleton of what extinct bird species discovered in New Zealand was so large it was once mistaken for the bones of a giant human? The dodo, moa, or great auk? Moa. Which European country was the first to institute a time zone shift, later adopted by the rest of the world as daylight savings time? Germany, France, or Spain? It was Germany. What 18th century medical tool, initially used for trepanation, was repurposed for cutting holes in ice before modern drills were invented? Hand crank drill, trephine, or ice saw? Trephine. Which eccentric scientist filed more than 700 patents but is best known for his experiments with electricity and wireless transmission? Nikola Tesla, Guglielmo Marconi, or Thomas Edison? Nikola Tesla. What 2,500-year-old artifact thought to bring bad luck to anyone who owns it was recently sold for over $10 million at auction? The Hope Diamond, the Black Orlov, or the Koh-i-Noor? The Black Orlov. In 1907, which lesser-known natural disaster caused more deaths in England than any war during that century? The Great Thames Flood, the Great North Sea Flood, or the Great Storm of 1907? The Great Thames Flood. Which peculiar ancient practice was used by the Chinese Han Dynasty to preserve the dead by encasing bodies in jade armour? Stone sarcophagus, jade coffin ritual, or jade burial suite? Jade burial suite. What ancient Greek festival is often overlooked in history books involved men dressing as women in honour of the goddess Demeter? Thesmophilia, Dionysia, or Eurasian Mysteries? Thesmophoria. What strange type of plant discovered in Madagascar uses mechanisms similar to insect traps, but instead traps small animals for nutrients? Lima vine, carnivorous willow, or tree shrew pitcher plant? The tree shrew pitcher plant. What peculiar celestial event in 1977, detected by astronomer Jerry Oman, is still considered one of the strongest signals of potential extraterrestrial origin? The galactic chirp, the wow signal, or the Sagan burst? The wow signal. What lost city was found in the Honduran rainforest with aerial laser scanning technology in 2015? The White City, El Dorado, or La Comunidad Perdida? The White City. Which underwater city in Japan features ancient ruin-like structures whose origin is disputed as man-made or natural? Okinawa Sunken City, Atlantis Ruins, or Yonganuga Monument? Yongaguni Monument. In 1994, the discovery of a 3,600-year-old tomb at the Valley of the Kings revealed an unknown pharaoh who was this previous forgotten ruler. Pharaoh Sennacherib, Pharaoh Akhenaten, or Pharaoh Nefertari? Pharaoh Sennacherib. Which animal species discovered in the deep oceans of the Mariana Trench in 2012 has translucent skin and glows in the dark? Transparent eel, ghost octopus, or abyssal jellyfish? Ghost octopus. And your last one. What was the first deep space object ever discovered, now classified as a dwarf planet, lying in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter? Ceres, Vesta, or Pallas? That's Ceres. So, how did you do today? Drop your score in the comments below, and of course, like and subscribe so you get notified every time we post a new quiz. And please, join us next time on Quiz Time.